Coach Tony.
Hey, welcome back, folks. You are listening to Hey Coach Tony on Cumulus Radio. If you're just tuning in, I just went through an entire tank emptying rant on this whole concept of the wood versus metal bats, and Easton coming out with some protective gear to finally protect our pitchers. You know what? I'm going to continue to take your thoughts on the emails and the phone lines, which is 855 Hey Coach. But I'm going to move on as well. There's been a development over the past couple of weeks. It seems the only thing we've been hearing on the radio over the past week or so are these changes in the rules that have been proposed for the NFL. It got me to thinking. There are certainly plenty of rules in youth sports that could use some revisiting, and I'm gonna pick some of your best suggestions for rules that you think need to be changed in youth and scholastic sports. At the same time, I will take your calls and your emails on this as we go through the second half of the show here. So I want to know what you think are the dumbest rules and how we can possibly make them better. Now, leading into this segment, I think it is important to note that there have been a couple of changes in rules that I had particular issue with, and I'll start by kind of outlining those. Specifically, the NCAA, we were just talking about bats. This year, the NCAA has made an adjustment to their rules with regard to specific standards and practices for bats. There used to be something called BESR standards, which was ball exit speed ratio. The NCAA has finally stepped up and realized that the best way to gauge bats is with something called BBCOR, BBCOR, which is bat to ball coefficient of resistance. I don't know what that means, but in a nutshell, what it means is these new BBCOR bats have been designed, again, thanks to good old Coach Tony coming up with a great idea. They have change the specs for these bats to most efficiently mimic the properties of a wood bat. So in theory, it's not going to protect pitchers much more, but it will stop the 75 to 74 extra inning games that we see in college baseball. So that was one rule that the NCAA changed. But the one that I think is going to revolutionize youth sports is the NCAA came out with what I'll call a series of 20-second rules, one of which is a pitcher, from when he receives the ball back from the catcher, has only 20 seconds to deliver his next pitch. Why is this important? Well, if you watch college baseball or sit through high school games, you realize that these games typically can take 3+ hours to get 9 innings in. And the reason is coaches are flashing signs to the catcher's flashing signs to the pitcher. If the pitcher shakes them off, guess what? You got this whole back and forth, and it takes literally 40, 45 seconds for each pitch in some of these cases. So the NCAA has finally decided that if a pitcher takes more than 20 seconds to deliver his next pitch, there's an automatic ball. And I think this is going to speed things up dramatically. The other 20-second rule is in between innings. A team has 20 seconds to get themselves ready before the first pitch is going to start the inning. This should, I don't know how much it's going to revolutionize the actual game, but I will tell you it's going to revolutionize the butt soreness of good baseball fans all around the country. And I do think that the BBCOR standards for bats is going to bring the game back to a little bit more of its initial and original purity, which I love. I mean, there's going to be a lot more scientific coaching involved again, a lot of small ball, a lot of smarts versus just watching kids hit the ball 700 feet. So those are two rules that nobody brought up because nobody even knew they were up for discussion, but that was a really good change in my opinion. I got an email here from Marty in Trumbull, Connecticut, who writes in and says, "Hey, Coach Tony, love your show, but I'm running a half marathon on Sunday, and I'm not going to be able to listen in. The rule change that I'd like to see is the following. I would like to see them allow Connecticut high school cross-country athletes to run in road races during their season if their coach gives them the okay. Currently, they cannot run in road races or they are barred from CIAC competition once they run in their first meet. Ironically, Tony, this rule does not exist in track during the indoor nor outdoor seasons. Thus, a track athlete can run in a road race during the season that they compete in. This really just doesn't make sense. Although I understand the philosophy behind it, I don't think you can limit one type of runner and not the other." Marty, that's a great point. And for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, the CIAC rule is as follows. Once a team has run their first cross-country meet of the season, no athlete on that team can run in a road race. That means, the Mother's Day 5K, the Easter egg hunt / triple marathon, whatever it's going to be, they cannot run in a road race. If they do, then that athlete is ineligible for the rest of that cross-country season. That seems kind of harsh. If the athlete runs in a road race and doesn't let the coach know, and then the athlete continues to compete for the high school team, then the team has to forfeit any high school cross-country meet that they participate in. That's really harsh. I mean, I'll give you an example. Kid runs like I said, the 5K, Moms and Ronald McDonald House, whatever it is, in, let's say, August. All right, that's okay because that kid has not yet started their official season for high school. All right? The high school team did start practice, but that's okay. They haven't violated anything yet. Let's say the kid then goes and runs for their high school on September 13th, runs in the team's first meet. Great. Then on September 17th, they register and run in another 5K race with mom and dad for something else. This kid has now become ineligible to run for their high school for the rest of the cross-country season, according to these rules. It is kind of stupid. Now, I'll say the following week, this kid decides to run another meet with the high school team. The opposing coach, let's say her own coach doesn't know, but the opposing coach remembers this kid's name, let's say, from the results that they saw online from that previous 5K. This guy files a protest, and that high school team has now dumped their entire season down the toilet, and they have to forfeit any points that they earned. You fast forward now to the October season, which starts the outdoor track season, and that rule just simply doesn't exist for those sports. I mean, why? I really don't know. Now, by the way, since we're on track, and I never talk about track, there is another weird rule specific to Connecticut, and I'm learning about this, that's worth discussing. If you really think about getting a kid in shape with aerobic activity, can you really think of anything better than cross-country running? If you think about it, these kids are running a minimum of 2 to 3 miles at meets, and that's at least like 20 to 30 miles a week in training. There's really no other sport that comes close to cardiovascular training than cross-country. Soccer's kind of close, but you know what? It's still not a good comparison because it's not close enough. Despite that, what's happening in Connecticut, they've made rule changes to allow the high school football teams to start practicing a week earlier, and they say it is for reasons of, quote, conditioning in August. So they can get the football players a week in early to start conditioning, but not cross-country. And here's why I bring this up. There are kids who are going to put pretty sudden demands on their heart and lungs because they needed more time and work. Yet the coaches are prohibited from being able to help these kids ease into their season. It's only 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks. I think it's actually 16 days, but it's about 2 weeks from the official first day of practice for cross-country until the first meet. And even in those 2 weeks, you can't expect a kid to run every single day. So the amount of actual training for this vigorous sport is highly insufficient, to say the least. And, hey, Marty, I want to thank you for asking a great question. And, by the way, thanks for getting involved in the show all the way from Trumbull, Connecticut. In fact, folks, this might be a good time to give you all a heads up. Starting next week. Officially, it's starting this week. We are moving the show from Sundays at 9 to Saturdays at 9. And, by the way, I'm very pleased to announce that we're going to be expanding our listener base. That's right. The show is now going to be heard not only on WFAS, but also on 940 ESPN in Putnam County, New York, and 1510 ESPN in Connecticut. So starting this coming Saturday, April 2nd, our friends up in Putnam County and in Connecticut can listen to Hey Coach Tony on ESPN Radio. Obviously very exciting stuff, and I just want to take a quick opportunity to thank you guys for your support and your involvement over this past year. It's been a wild ride, and I truly appreciate it. And like I said, our plans are to keep the show here on FAS as well, because this is home and Westchester is my gang. But we're going to be turning on ESPN in Connecticut and in Putnam County, and phone lines stay the same. HeyCoachTony.com stays the same, and my annoying voice stays the same. I think we got time for one more email before we go to break. I got something in here from Lacrosse Dad, who writes in and says, "Hey, Coach Tony, my 4th grade daughter plays lacrosse, and the rule that I want to see changed is this. If you're not aware, in girls lacrosse at the younger ages, there needs to be a completion of 3 successful consecutive passes before a shot can be taken. Tony, have you ever watched 3rd and 4th grade girls play lacrosse? 3 consecutive passes is a small miracle in and of itself. Why can't they change that rule, or at least hand out rope at the games so I can hang myself? Well, Lacrosse Dad, first of all, thank you. I always appreciate a good laugh on a Sunday. But I tell you what, been there, done that. Not the hanging myself, but the desire to hang myself. All I can say is this. I had 2 girls who played lacrosse at that level. And you know what? That particular rule is there for a reason. If it was not there, and I'm assuming you're a well, you say you call yourself lacrosse dad. I'm not a lacrosse guy, but I will tell you, if that rule was not there, every game would end in a 95-95 tie. And the reason is goalies can't stop shots, and nobody knows how to play defense. So if you just allow one fast kid to grab the ball and run down the entire field and shoot, that's what they're going to do. I do agree that it is painful to watch, and I don't know, maybe we could get away with 2 passes. But if it was just this free-for-all, I got to tell you, I don't think there would be much to the game. I think it would go to the other end of the spectrum where instead of every game being like, a European soccer game where it ends, in a 0-0 tie every game, I don't want to see just score after score after score either. So I think it's a pretty good point you bring up. And again, I do appreciate you chiming in and bringing in another sport because, hey, guys, lacrosse season is upon us. All right, we're going to go to quick break, but when we get back, we're going to be taking your calls at 855-HEY-COACH, as well as your emails at heycoachtony@gmail.com. But you know what? Before we go to break, if you are looking for a mortgage and you want to take advantage of the best rates in Westchester, you know what? Call my good buddy Tony Arcidiacono at TMC Equities. He's at 914-449-6656, or drop him an email at tony@tmcequities.com. Whether it's for a purchase, a new construction, a refinance, whatever, you call Tony and his team at TMC Equities, and they're going to help you find the loan that best suits your needs. So call TMC Equities today at 914-449-6656, or visit them on the web at tmcequities.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.